members, I welcome you to this meeting of the Senate Public Accounts Committee. We started our meetings quite early in the morning, and as a result, we have had some scheduling conflicts. But nonetheless, the time we have spent has been well spent because with respect to the entity before us, I believe that half the work that we are to do, we have already done it because we have spent a lot of time with the Auditor General, bringing us up to speed on matters that have been dealt with, that do not need further interrogation, and matters, a few residual matters that will need to be queried. So let's start the meeting formally with a word of prayer. Senator Wambua, who is the resident bishop, in his absence, Senator Sifuna usually helps, but in his presence, in his presence, no one else can take that away from him.
Let me use this one. So thank you, Chair. Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings as your servants whom we be pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come, and our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Thank you, Senator Wambua. Again, for record purposes, I know today we have done a lot of introductions. Senators, let's go on record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fatuma Dulo is your member.
Senator Jones Maruma, Senator Taita Taveta, Vice Chair of this committee.
Eno Kwambua, Senator Kitui, a member of this committee.
Hizo Kongo Mogeni, Senator Nyamira, member.
Edwin Sifuna, Senator Nairobi, member of this committee.
Godfrey Osotsi, Senator Vihiga County, a friend of the committee.
My name is Moses Otieno Kajuang, Senator from Homa Bay. I chair the committee. I welcome all the senators. We quickly go to the clerks.
Good afternoon, George Otieno, Committee Clerk.
Angoni Deputy Committee Clerk.
Sumali Hira, Research.
Faith Cheruto, Legal Counsel.
Shalim Simbi, Hansard Officer.
John Chege, Sergeant at Arms.
That's all from us, Chair.
You are all welcome, the OAG.
Good afternoon, Chair members. I'm Muruki Patrick, the Liaison Officer.
Good afternoon, members. Chair, my name is Joseph Karanja, Kisumu Regional Office of the Auditor General.
That's all, Chairman.
You karibuni OAG. ISPAC.
Thank you, Chairman. CPA Charles Tunga, ISPAC Liaison. Thank you.
You're welcome. National Treasury.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edith Kanata from the National Treasury.
Karibu, Control of Budget.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Gilbert Gachanja from Office of Control of Budget. Thank you.
Okay, we should be having the EFCC in the room, but they'll introduce themselves when they get here. Any other stakeholder we have left out? I think we had the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board in the morning. We are done with them. So we go to the Governor Vihiga. Governor Vihiga, please go on record.
My name is Wilbur Otichillo, Governor, Vihiga County. I'm accompanied by various officers, and I would like them to introduce themselves, starting with the CEC in charge of finance and planning.
Proceed.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mulongo Mesha Konzeri, the CCM Finance and Economic Planning, Vihiga County.
Honorable Chair, my name is CPA James Satemba Khalai, the Chief Officer in charge of Finance.
Honorable members, I'm John Owako, Head of Financial Reporting Unit.
Honorable Chair, members, I'm CPA Keverenge Joseph, Chief Officer, Planning, Budget, Monitoring and Evaluation, Vihiga County.
Honorable members, my name is George Omsuna, Director Revenue.
Chair and honorable members, my name is Agribiel Omsiega, the County Attorney.
Chair and honorable members, my name is Wilfred Amasaka, Director Human Resource Management, Vihiga County.
Chair and honorable members, my name is Joseph Karungani Lurani, the CCM in charge of Commerce, Tourism and Cooperatives.
Chair, honorable members, I'm Dr. Richard Boyo, the Chief Officer in charge of Environment, Energy, Natural Resources and Climate Change, Vihiga County.
Thank you, Chair and honorable members. My name is Dr. Mary Susan Anyenda, Chief Officer Health Services, Vihiga County. Thank you.
Chair Ometale Tunya, Chief Officer Transport and Infrastructure, and also Acting Chief Officer, Office of the Governor. Thank you.
Chair and honorable members, my name is Laura Kisaka, Head of Procurement, County Government of Vihiga.
Chair, honorable members, my name is CCP Isabel Pili, Accountant.
Honorable members, my name is CPA Sheila Lwali, Accountant.
That's it for the delegation from the County Executive. Clerk, did you invite the County Assembly?
Yes, Chair, we did, but we have no word from them.
Okay, so that's unfortunate because we all have the same constitutional timelines. We would have wished them to be here, but that does not take away their mandate. We proceed to the next order, which will be administration of oath.
I, Wilbur Otichillo, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Next will be for you to table your written responses.
Mr. Chairman, sir, I hereby table the following documents before the committee. The management responses accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on County Executive of Vihiga for the year 2024-2025. The management responses and accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on the receiver of revenue statements for the County Executive of Vihiga for the financial year 2024-2025. Then lastly, management responses and accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on the County Revenue Fund for the County Executive of Vihiga for the financial year 2024-2025. Thank you.
Fine. Auditor General, could you tell us whether, or first of all, Clerk, can you make sure that members, because we had directed that copies be sent in advance, and if the files before us are the copies, can you confirm whether they were filed on time?
Yes, Chair, I confirm that we received the responses in good time.
OAG, can you confirm whether you've gone through them and you're ready to proceed?
Chair, we received the responses in time and we are ready to proceed.
If that is the case, unless there is any preliminary matter, I would request that we go straight into the report of the Auditor General for the Executive and for the Receiver of Revenue. And even as we do so, this is historic. I think the Senate, the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee has for the first time complied with the provision of the Constitution. That when the Auditor General brings reports to Parliament, Parliament shall consider and debate those reports within a period of 3 months. So this time round, Senate is doing what is required by law. And we expect that whatever proclamation we make, whatever resolution we arrive at, through this constitutional process, those entities that are required to implement will do the right thing. If we make recommendations for investigation, we expect the EACC to do the right thing, because the Senate has also done the right thing by considering these matters in a timely manner. Governor Otichillo, you are the first governor to appear before this committee for the financial year 2024-2025. So I hope you're going to set the tone. You set the wrong one, and then the other 46 might also go wrong. You set the right one. We hope that others will also go right. We also take note that it's the first time you're considering financial statements prepared on accrual basis. For the last 10 years, counties have been reporting on a hybrid of cash and accrual. And so the financial statements might look slightly different. Before you came in, the reason why it took long for us to start this meeting, we should have started at 10, we were in conversation with the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board and the National Treasury on the differences between reports on accrual basis and reports on cash basis. Because if you don't do that, we'll start asking you cash basis questions. I think we are very clear in our minds right now that we'll be asking accrual basis questions. We are also very clear on the transition. We know what you expect to do in the first year, in the second year, and in the third year. We are also clear that there could be accounting issues as a result of that transition. And if they are purely accounting issues to do with compliance with the standards, we'll agree with the Auditor General to handhold you, and then we track them at the next cycle of implementation follow-up. Therefore, in as much as we have fairly long reports here, citing quite a number of issues on standards and preparation of financial statements, we want to focus more on lawfulness and effectiveness in the use of public resources. And if there are issues arising out of the transition from cash to accrual, we will get the advice of the Auditor General on how that can be worked on within the 60 days or 90-day implementation period. So, Auditor, could you tell us what the opinion was on the executive before we go to the basis of that opinion?
Thank you, Chair. Report of the Auditor General on County Executive for Vihiga for the year ended 30th June 2025. Report on financial statements was a qualified opinion.
So when it comes to the qualifying issues, what was the first basis for qualification? You may just read it and then we direct you.
One was failure to capitalize property, plant and equipment. Paragraph number 2, unsupported software license renewal.
Let's just go procedurally. So number 1, what was the issue?
Failure to capitalize property, plant and equipment.
The substance?
The statement of financial performance statement reflects an amount of Kenya shillings 1,432,268,408 in respect of use of goods and services as disclosed in Note 8 to the financial statements. Included in the amount is expenditure of Kenya shillings 307,636,974 incurred on rehabilitation of civil works and an expenditure of Kenya shillings 303,085,635 incurred on constructions of civil works, or amounting to Kenya shillings 610,722,609. Review of records revealed that the 2 expenditure items were of capital nature and should have been capitalized in accordance with IPSAS 3 on transition to accrual basis of accounting. In the circumstances, the accuracy and fair presentation of the expenditure amounting to Kenya shillings 310,722,609 shillings and the use of goods and services could not be confirmed.
And what was the position of management, Governor?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, allow me to request my Chief Officer in charge of Finance to give a response.
Thank you, Chair. We respond as follows. The management acknowledges the auditor's observation on the above subject matter and responds as follows. During the preparation of the financial statements for the financial year 2024-2025 financial year, we relied heavily on the general guidelines on asset and liability management in the public sector from the National Treasury, that's the National Assets and Liability Management Directorate. In the guidelines, Part 4, 1E, provides that that's for accounting for non-financial assets, Section 112 gives guidance on capitalization of assets and threshold, and it sets the capitalization threshold is the value above which assets are capitalized and reported in the financial statements as non-financial assets as opposed to being expensed in the year of acquisition. The capitalization threshold should not be applied to the components of an asset, but should be applied to the value of the capital asset as a whole. All other expenditures shall be recognized as an expense in the period in which it occurred. In particular, the expenses incurred in maintenance or reinstatement of an asset that ensures that the useful operating life of the asset is attained shall be considered as operating expenses and shall not be capitalized, irrespective of the quantum of the expenses concerned. Since we are in the first year of transition to accrual basis of accounting, and as per the IPSAS 33, that's the first time adoption, we are required to recognize the financial assets and liabilities, that is current assets and liabilities, as guided by the Treasury Circular number 3 of 2025, part 2.3, and also develop policies of recognition. The county has since developed Vihiga County Assets and Liabilities Management Policy and Procedure Manual, which will guide on the capitalization and other assets management areas like identifying and revaluing, classifying of assets for them to be reported in the financial statements in the last year of transition, which is financial year 2026-2027. We submit, Honorable Chair.
So in English, are you agreeing with the Auditor General or you are disagreeing with the Auditor General?
Honorable Chair, in our interpretation, going by
are you agreeing or disagreeing with this finding?
Initially,
that
we had
explains
disagreed.
what should have been capitalized.
Initially, we had disagreed, Chair, but upon engagements with the OAG, we have reached an agreement that this adjustment should be made as a prior year adjustment in preparation of the financial year 2025-2026, so that whatever was expensed is now capitalized under PPE.
Auditor General, 610 million is above 10% of the county's overall expenditure. Because you must be clear, ni pesa imepotea ama ni maneno ya bookkeeping?
This is an issue on bookkeeping. As we told them all the assets acquired during the financial year under review, they have the historical costs, they have the documentation, so they should be captured in PPE, not expensed.
So what's your recommendation?
Our recommendation is they have made the financial statement during subsequent year on capital items that has documentation and historical costs to be capitalized and not expensed.
So we should start seeing those adjustments in the quarterly reports?
Yes.
So this is a matter that we can leave for implementation follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. Members, unless there is any query, it's 610 million, auditor amesema haijapotea. It's just that imewekwa kwa bedroom instead of sitting room. Isn't that just a classification issue? Yeah, we would give you a slap on the wrist because it's a first year of transition. Yeah. But I think after a period of time, Senate will not be lenient. It's just that this is the first time you're doing this kind of transition. So we keep that in view, and as we are taking a resolution to the House, it's something that we can track in the next implementation review cycle.
And Chair, Vihiga has developed County Assets and Liabilities Management Policy and Procedure Manual. It would not be the same county-wide. It will just be unique to Vihiga. And we are saying moving forward, maybe we should have a general one that is acceptable county-wide. But it's good for Vihiga for having developed this policy. We can give it to them.
Fine, we can proceed to the second matter of software licenses. For purposes of time, the OAG, we had gone through this earlier. and you had indicated that notwithstanding your findings, subsequently some supporting documentation was provided.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, just summarize what you had reported here and the current status, and then we can hear from the governor. Because if this audit was done last month, we're in January, the question would be, where were the documents in December? Why were they not provided in December and they're now being provided in January? Unless they were being, which word did you use?
I asked we to talk about cooked something cooked.
Unless they were being cooked. Okay, fine. OG?
We're saying on summary, Kenya shillings 3,200,040 shillings incurred on software license renewal revealed that key supporting relevant documents were missing and lack of valid contract agreement to support the expenditure incurred on software license renewal.
There was also a direct procurement authority that was required. Your second last paragraph.
Yes, further, there was no documentary evidence to show that the management reported the direct procurement to the authority within 14 days after the notification of the award of the contract, since the value exceeded 500,000 and there was no approval by the accounting officer for use of direct procurement method, contrary to Regulation 91 of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Regulations 2010, which provides that an accounting officer shall, within 14 days after the notification of the award of the contract, report any direct procurement of a value exceeding 500,000 to the authority in a format provided by the authority.
So, OAG, since we have the written response here, which is fairly detailed, and the county are pointing us to Appendix 2 with a need assessment report, extract of PPRA report, user points, and license renewal contract agreement. Have you reviewed those documents, and do they satisfy the questions that you had asked at the time of audit?
Yes, I've reviewed them, and they have responded to the issue, because the issue key here was failure to provide documents at the time of the audit.
Governor, why did this matter have to come to the Senate if the records were available at that point in time?
Thank you, Chair. I think I would like to ask the Director of Procurement to give her details on probably why these were not submitted to the auditor at the right time.
And Director, with due respect to time, restrict yourself to that which the governor has asked you to do. Why they were not provided at the time of audit.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm the documents were provided in good time, but you realize when the queries are raised in the draft report.
So you disagree with the Auditor General?
I can confirm the documents were sent via email to the Auditor General.
What is your definition of good time?
They were sent to the Auditor General.
On?
During the response to draft responses.
Specifically on which date?
I cannot be knowing the date.
We don't deal with terms like in good time. In good time must meet, it must be defined from the timelines in the Constitution and statute. So they could have been sent on 31st of December. That is outside that's a date when they're supposed to be reporting.
Chair.
So I just want us to agree on some basics so that these matters will not recur in future. So you are saying you gave the Auditor General the documents?
Yes, Chair, before the management letter came.
Auditor General, you are being accused of being frivolous and raising issues that have already been answered.
At the time of management letter, the documents have not been provided. A DAR, a draft audit report, was also sent to the client, and the documents were not provided.
Who's saying the truth between the OAG and the county? Governor.
Chair, allow me to request the Chief Officer in charge of Finance. I think he knows more details. Let him present that to this committee.
Chair, let me clarify with your permission. that this particular query was introduced at the draft certificate level. And the challenge we had, we are normally given only 3 days, about 2 to 3 days. So I know by the time we are giving to OAG, the documents have already been transmitted from Kisumu to Nairobi for issuance of the final certificate. But later on, we engaged the OAG at Kisumu and we reached a conclusion.
Mr. Temba, you have said something extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. That it was introduced at the draft certificate. Because I thought this is a continuum. That nothing will find itself at the end without having gone through that process of samples and queries and management letter, that the OAG cannot just bring a surprise at the end.
I agree, when they were on the ground, that issue was transacted. But in terms of documentation, at the draft level is where now we received the query and we went through our documents to locate these particular documents. We were able to remit to OAG and ultimately, after engagement, we agreed that the issue now is resolved. And that's where we are.
Patrick, can we? It's a very dangerous comment, which, if not managed, could give the impression that the OAG introduces things at the end of the audit process.
Chairman, it's not possible to introduce a new thing, and if that is the case, that query then must be communicated to the entity, and they are given adequate time to respond. If there is any review to an issue that was initially in the audit query, and even then in the management letter, it can only be amended in the way that information is being requested. But you cannot introduce a totally new thing at the point of draft report. Very rarely does it happen.
Senator Ogwo?
Chairman, even where...
You see, Chair, the chief officer has also gone on record to say that during the audit, the matter was being processed. But then what the lady there, the procurement lady, is saying is that this matter jumped at them towards the tail end of the audit cycle. The Auditor General is saying that this matter was properly before the entity at the start of the audit. So we have three positions on the same matter, Chair. Perhaps the governor can tell us what the exact position is, because really you are part of this. You participate in this at the entry level and at the exit level. Is this a matter that was just sprung at your officers midway or towards the end of the audit cycle?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the issue here is that these documents is clear from my two officers that they came in late when the auditor already had processed and moved forward. So it's clear that these documents came in late.
Which documents, Chair, came in late? I thought it was the documents from the county government of Vihiga that we are questioning. So they came in late from where?
The documents being submitted to the Auditor General when they were required. They were not submitted at the right time.
Auditor, you, the OAG, I know Patrick sits with us in Nairobi, so our friend from Kisumu Hub, you are the one who did this audit. Were you the one on the ground?
Yes.
So a lot of things are being said back and forth. Can you give us your professional account?
I have the management letter that was issued, and the issue was raised at the query number 4.7, lack of assets ownership documents on software licenses.
And what's the date? The date on which that particular, the ML was released to the client?
Mm, 13th October.
13th of October. And the draft certificate came Because I think these ones were signed on 8th of December. Because we must all proceed in good faith. We must, if there's no good faith, we will not be able to proceed. The Auditor General signed this off on 8th of December, the final certificate. So a very simple question is now giving birth to unnecessary doubt on the process. But I will be very hesitant to lay the blame on the OAG on this. That responsibility must be carried by the county. And maybe that's when now we need to look at Section 52 of the Public Audit Act and recommend accordingly. Senator Osotsi, you wanted to raise something?
I think, Chair, I think these licenses were in respect of the GIS software, which is one of the good things that we have done as a county. But I think when you go through the documentation here, particularly the agreement, I don't know whether the auditor had time to peruse the agreement that is attached, because the agreement seems to be saying that the contract period was October 2024 to October 2025. So maybe you can indicate to us the current situation. Are the software licenses current or they have expired as well? And then I would also want to know what is the arrangement in place. Are these software licenses paid annually or it is an extended period of time? So that they don't have to keep on writing agreements every year. So for example, me and you come from the IT world. You know that you can have an agreement for even 5 years on software licenses. So you don't have to be paying every year and writing agreements and therefore avoiding a query like this. So the agreement that is attached here is actually for last year, not current. So even if it was provided to the auditor, it was an outdated document. They should have provided one that is current. So maybe the officers involved can tell us what is the current situation on this matter.
Yep, Governor, this is what happens when you come with documents to the Senate. They are subjected to further scrutiny. And the easier thing is to ensure that you provide that evidence to the Auditor General.
Yeah.
But now that it is before us, it has to be opened up.
Yes.
You have heard the question from the Senator?
Yes, I've had the question from the Senator, and I would like the Director of Procurement to give a response.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The agreement was renewed, currently status renewed. Then the reason why we did an agreement for 1 year, that was the available funds as at that time. So we were able to rebudget this financial year and the agreement was renewed. Thank you.
So maybe there are two things here. For the earlier conversation on whether documents were provided or not, we shall make a recommendation and in line with section 52. Is it 52 of the Public Audit?
62.
Is it 52 or 62?
62.
62 of the Public Audit Act, because we do not sound satisfied that there was a good reason for non-provision of documents. We have tried to ask you to justify why they were not provided, and you have raised more allegations than dealing with the substance. For the value for money and also the veracity of the contracts, we'll ask the Auditor General to relook into it and just ensure that this contract negotiated is value for money and that it is the best arrangement for Vihiga County. So I don't think there was loss of money here. It's more of a compliance issue. Fine. We go to unconfirmed depreciation charge. Now earlier in the morning, We were talking to the National Treasury and the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board.
Sorry, Chair, before we move, so who is to blame for the late submission of documents?
It has to be the accounting officer.
Then why can't we recommend some action? If there is somebody who is culpable. We have always had the practice of recommending administrative action.
Yes, yes. Because Section 62 has got very clear provisions on how it should be enforced.
Yes, Chairman. Because Section 62...
Even though 62 is towards investigation and prosecution, do we go that route, or we just direct the CEO to take administrative action?
You know, Chair, I think previously what we have done, according to tradition, is that we have directed administrative action, and it forms the basis of the next cycle of audit, so that then the entity will report to us what administrative action was taken to cure. Yes.
Failure to which we can recommend investigation and prosecution. Section 156, is that the Public Audit Act? Yeah, so Senior Counsel,
So I think let's recommend that administrative action be taken.
Yeah.
So that in the next appearance, the governor can tell us what action was taken.
And administrative action, Governor, as a CEO, you know, when we direct administrative action, governors go back and fire everybody. Yeah, that's administrative action. But administrative action could also be training, could be reprimand, could be transfers. There, I mean, it's unless you want us to tell you what to do with your officers.
Chair, I think I take what you have said, and I'll take administrative action, but not a very hostile one.
No, stop qualifying.
No, Chair, I don't think the governor should tell us what action he would take, whether it is it's tough or lenient. I think we just want administrative action. And the purpose of it, Governor, and we are not, I mean, we should actually be helping each other here, is not just to punish. It also gives you an opportunity to find out what exactly happened. How come? Because now you're not even clear whether the documents were given, at what time they were given. So that next time we don't have a repeat of this. Yeah.
Fine, so you take note, so we'll have another implementation follow-up meeting. I think once the Senate adopts our report, and you'll have to provide evidence of the action that you have taken. We will not tell you the severity, but it is upon you as a CEO. Failure to which we shall recommend the provisions of Section 62 of the Public Audit Act. Senator Cherarke has just come in and is already disrupting the meeting. So can you go on record?
No, Chair, is Senator Wambua, who is excited. He wants to listen what we were discussing in State House, but that is beside the point. Chair, my name is Cherarke Kiprotich, Senator of the Republic of Kenya from Nandi. Karibu sana jirani.
Okay, so we proceed. There is a matter of depreciation charge. Again, this is a new auditor. This is a new thing coming with the accrual basis of accounting.
Yes, from the National Treasury, they issued a policy, but also the counties, due to their specialities, they're supposed to come up with a policy on depreciation charge of the assets.
Was this to be done within the first year of the transition?
Yes, because the assets acquired and those that were recognized, they were supposed to be depreciated.
Okay, so this again a fairly technical matter. Governor, have you done your policy on depreciation charge and amortization?
Yes, Chair, we have done that.
Has it been approved by the Assembly?
It has been approved by the County Executive, and we have forwarded to the Assembly.
Auditor General, is this a policy for approval by the Assembly? You see, policy is a province of the Executive.
Yes.
Unless it's a significant policy that comes as a sessional paper. Why would you, what's the background? Why are you asking the assembly to approve a depreciation policy, which is fairly technical and executive?
At executive level, if they approve and adopt, it's okay. But at county assembly, where we recommend is in case of any legislation that is required to implement that policy, it's the county assembly maybe decide to come up with a registration.
So Governor, are you taking this policy to the assembly?
We have already forwarded the policy to the assembly for noting because it's a technical document, but the requirement is that we take to the assembly for them to note, the relevant committee to note and record that this policy has been approved.
Chair.
Senator Maroon.
Yeah, maybe Governor, point us to the policy, because you are saying that during the preparation of the financial statements 24-25 fiscal year, we relied heavily on general guidelines on asset and liability management in the public sector from the National Treasury. And then you say that in the guidelines, Appendix 4, schedule of useful lives and depreciation gives depreciation and amortization rates for different classes of assets. Can you point us to that Appendix 4, which gives that schedule?
Chair, let me request OACO to point to that section where that is covered.
Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The Honorable Senator just confused me a little bit. Are we in question 1 or question 3?
Question 3. You are saying that Appendix 4 gives the schedule of useful lives and depreciation, and amortization rates. The origin. And confirm depreciation.
I hope you're all reading the same document.
I'm just checking for the page.
So the appendix is 1A.
So in page, in this policy, the schedule 4 is on page 78.
Page 78 of
the appendix. We have attached appendix 2, appendix 1, appendix 1A. Of those documents, we have the assets and liability management policy. Then we go to appendix. In that policy, we go now to page 74. From page 74. It's from page 74.
Page 74
of what?
Of the policy, the assets and liability management policy. We have attached it as an appendix 1A.
Is there page 74 in appendix 1A? You didn't serialize your pages.
Sorry, Honorable Chair. We didn't attach the full policy, but I'm having a copy of the complete one.
But you are supposed to come and demonstrate that you have a policy. Now you want to introduce evidence at this point, which you failed to do at the time of audit. We can't proceed like that.
Through His Excellency the Governor, I can respond to that. the initial audit query was, we charged depreciation of 15,898,111. So initially, the auditor was alleging that we used an approved assets and liabilities management policy. But ideally, we responded by saying, in doing that, we based on the guidelines issued by the National Treasury of the assets and liability management in public sector from the National Treasury. So that was the basis then. But we have, however, gone ahead to prepare our own specific assets and liabilities management
before you
policy.
go there, what you are supposed to do, we use the national government guidelines. Here they are as Appendix 4 or whatever, so that we confirm that what we are saying is true. Now, if you say you guys are doing the right things and we have no visibility of that particular guidance, we will not have done any serious job. And I think that's the challenge that my vice chair is putting to you, that can you show us here that Appendix 4 that you're talking about, so that we look at it and say, well, it's okay, you can use the national government guidelines. Before you go further.
Yeah, because now the issue is marked as addressed. So we wanted to see what you had used and what is now contained in your current policy.
It's a fairly simple thing.
No, Chair, make it easy for the chief officer. Let him take us to that Appendix 4. Because he has made reference to it himself. It is his document. Then tell us, in this appendix, this is what we have done. Because I think for this issue to be considered to have been resolved, then there must be evidence for the resolution as captured in his own response.
So, Chair, we submit that that particular one is not amongst our appendix. But however, what we carried is now the approved assets and liabilities management policy document.
Now, between the time of audit and today, where is the evidence of approval? Because the other thing they're questioning is that you're using a draft policy. I think that's the main substance of that finding. So do you have some minutes or correspondence to confirm that what was draft is now approved?
Even what is more confusing, did you use the draft policy as found by the auditor, or use the general one?
Yeah.
There's the whole of that confusion.
Governor?
Chair, I think when the auditing was done, we had the draft policy by then. But since then, that policy has been approved by the County Executive Committee, and there are minutes to that effect, although we may have not carried it here.
Let me ask the auditor this question. And of course, you have to give it to me that this is a fairly new thing. Auditor, what was your finding? Is it that the amortization was based on a draft policy, or they used the national government guidelines? What is your finding? Because the query is different from what the answer is by the management.
The depreciation charge is what was based on the draft policy, which was now the rider there that the county assembly had not approved the policy.
I think this is a very, very straightforward matter. Governor, you and your team, you're making it complicated for no good reason. It's the first time we are looking at depreciation charge, because we were not looking at it under the cash basis. And so we appreciate that it's a transition. Policies have to be drafted, policies have to be approved. And where there is no local policy, we take the national policy for guidance. But it was explained to us in the morning by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board that different counties might have different realities. And they gave us this example, that depreciation of a vehicle in Vihiga could be different from depreciation of a vehicle in Turkana because of the terrain. So counties can have different policies or different charges. So we encourage you to regularize that policy But since we don't have visibility of that Appendix 4 or Schedule 4, OAG keep this in view, go back and confirm that that policy has been approved, and if there is a requirement that the Assembly should also approve it, then we confirm that that is done. Because in this accrual basis, a depreciation charge is almost like an expense, isn't it? It reduces the value of your assets. So it cannot be done haphazardly. There must be a clear policy.
Chairman, it's true because it has a bearing on also the surplus or the deficit declared by the entity. So it also affects the statement of financial performance.
So it's a serious accounting matter. If you write down your assets haphazardly, then within 3, 4, 5 years you find that your asset is at zero. So being the first time we are doing this, keep it in view, confirm the policies have been approved, confirm they are consistent or not, not consistent because county and national, they might not be 100% consistent, but just confirm that they comply with best practice and the standards as have been proposed.
Yeah. But Chair, because they are borrowing from the national, let them give us the national guidelines, I think, to the auditors, so that we can ascertain that is what you used. You borrowed from the national guideline in formulating your county. Can you also get the view of that national guideline? I think I'll be more comfortable with that.
Chair, you have given a ruling on this. I don't want to belabor the point. The only problem is what the entity is saying on record is that they use the national government guidelines. What the Auditor General is saying is that they use a draft policy document. None of those documents is available to us. And I have said this many times, I will repeat it. We are not conducting audit here. So Chair, as you ask the Auditor General to keep it in view, I think it's also important for the entity to know that this is not where the audit is taking place. And if they make reference to any document on record, then it's only fair that the document is made available for us to cross-check. I think.
Okay, so we can't mark this as resolved until the OAG does the things that we have asked them to do, and until the entity provides that national circular for confirmation by the OAG. So this remains, we keep it in view, track it at the next implementation review. Quickly to receivables. Another new term, well, not entirely new, but accrual tends to like receivables and payables.
Long outstanding receivables. Thank you, Chair. The statement of financial position reflects balance of Kenya shillings 10,865,170 in respect of receivables from non-exchange transactions as disclosed in Note 13 to the financial statements. However, the following unsatisfactory matters were noted. 4.1, outstanding salary advances. Included in the balance are salary advances of Kenya shillings 1,865,170, out of which Kenya shillings 1,775,438 were advances made in the year 2015 and 2017 to 10 members of staff. The staff members included 4 former staff of the county executive, 1 current member of staff, 1 former deceased member of staff, 3 current sitting MCAs, and 1 former MCA. The management of the executive explained that a recovery of Kenya shillings 85,168 for the 2 officers has been made. However, no evidence in form of pay slips was provided for audit review to support this explanation. Further, no reconciliation had been provided to show the movement of staff advances opening balance of Kenya shillings 1,950,338 and the closing balance of Kenya shillings 1,865,170. in the circumstances, the accuracy and recoverability of the receivables from non-exchange transactions, staff advances, balance of Kenya shillings 1,865,170 as at 30th June 2025 could not be confirmed.
So let's spend very little time on this. The amounts being cited there, 1,085,000. Governor, what's your response on this very quickly?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, allow me to request my Director of Human Resource to give the response.
Director HR is in a blind spot, so maybe just move so that we can see you.
Thank you, Chair. We had made a written response to it. I read through. The management acknowledges the auditor's observation on the above subject matter and responds as follows. Some of the long outstanding salary advances were advanced to members of the county assembly when the payroll was still managed centrally at the county executive.
HR, again, for us to move swiftly, because when I'm looking at the time, we might be here up to 6. This one was a very straightforward matter. You have agreed you advanced money to certain officers.
Yes, Chair.
You have agreed on the amount. The 1 point, you agree on the amount being 1.9, the amount advanced.
1.8.
1.8.
Yes.
The auditor says you have only recovered 85,000.
Yes, Chair.
You agree with that?
Yes, Chair.
So the question is, what are you doing about the difference?
Yes, as we've indicated in the response, we've recovered monies from staff who are active on payroll, and we have submitted the evidence, but the other persons who had been advanced the money, we did not find the primary record upon which they committed to receive the money. We were informed that sometimes in 2016, the building which housed the primary evidence in terms of the application forms caught fire, and for that reason, when we contacted the office of county attorney, he wrote to those persons, and they have all responded indicating that they want evidence that indeed they applied for the money. So it has not been possible for us to proceed with the recovery.
Is there? Do we have a copy of that reply here?
Yes, that's what I'm saying is what in summary is in the response that I was...
No. The last bit where you are saying that the persons who advanced the money are writing back asking for evidence. I'd like to see a sample of that letter. Because Wameruka, that they didn't get the money. I'd really like to see a copy of that letter.
And also, is the officer who authorized the advance, is he still working the county?
Yeah. Because if it was...
And then too, where is the evidence of that incidence of fire that is alleged to have broken out in Vihiga?
Bottom line, Governor, pesa ya serikali haipotei. Either someone paid it out. No, it's not either. There's someone who paid that money.
Sure.
And someone received it. The person who received it could be the same person who paid it. Or the person who received it could be somebody else. So, instead of wasting too much time running after people, we must start with the person who authorized the payment. In fact, in terms of interest and advances, I think the PFM is very, very clear on the responsibility of accounting officers. So, hii pesa iko wapi, Governor? This 1.6 million can build an ECD classroom. Kuna ECD classroom hapa ya 1.7 million. Yeah. How do we get back this money?
Chair, these two persons were in the first government, and they were CEC members. And as we have heard from the Director of Human Resource, the documentation that had all these details somehow we were informed that the office or the place where the documents were caught fire and all the documents were burnt. So there is no evidence for us to be able, and I think that's why.
But Governor, if you and the auditor agree that this advance was made, then there must be a record that the advance was paid. Because if there's no record, why is it in here? Why are you even responding to it? If there's no record, why is your county attorney seized of it?
I have him. He's here.
The Chair, let's be a bit prudent with public money. Why this money was advanced in 2016, okay? 2015. Why does it take 10 years before the county attorney issues a demand letter for the recovery of this money? Yet he knows the statute of limitation may not allow him to recover that debt now. Is that negligence on his part? Huh? Because I'm looking at Annexure 3C, Chairman. The demand for the repayment of this money was made on 5th of June, 2025. Why that long inordinate delay?
Chair, I really wanted evidence, as alluded by the HR officer, that the officers indicated that they want evidence that that money was advanced to them. How would you know money is advanced to you? It's because either there is a wire from the county coffers to your account, or you have signed. So for the documentation, maybe the documents might not be there, but if there was a wire from the county CRF account to that officer, and that officer expended that money, then why should you want evidence whether that money was advanced to them or not? To be very clear, because that money went to that person's account. Chair.
Governor?
Chair, I think my position is that is the Director of Human Resources that keeps all these records and should be able to avail them. But this is the explanation he gave, that he couldn't get the documentation because of that fire incidents which led to the burning of the documents.
But then what would be the basis of your demand letters? Letter of demand before action and recovery? I don't know whether it's the one you're referring to that were done sometime in...
Yes, and we want to understand from the county attorney whether he understands the Limitation of Actions Act in terms of debt recovery.
Chair, let me confirm that I understand the Limitations of Actions Act and the limitations.
What is the period? So that we test whether you are supposed to occupy that office?
Yeah, if it's on contract, then we are talking of 6 years. If it's related to land, it's 12 years. If it's related to tort, it's 3 years.
So what was this one? What was it relating to?
Chair, this is public money, and we received instructions from the Treasury. If you see, if you look at Annexure 3B.
No, was it within or it was already time barred? You're a lawyer.
Chair, we had to act. This is public funds.
You are sure you can file a suit?
Because you know the debt had not been written off. It was still a liability that was pending.
Are you a member of Law Society?
I'm a member, and I'm a very senior member. I was admitted in 1987.
Fine, so educators,
no.
Because...
the limitation.
Tell us on the limitation.
Limitation of Actions Act.
Governor, you may be very unfortunate if that is your county attorney who cannot understand basics on the time you need to file suit before you are time barred by the court.
Chair, that is very unfair, with the due respect, because I have not filed any suit.
County Attorney, relax. Relax. Yeah? There's no need to raise your temperature. There are documents here which you have authored on the 5th of June. And perhaps it looks like you're doing the right thing, because I would have told the governor to advise you to do exactly what you have done. But senior counsel is raising a flag that due to the statute of limitation, this might be a futile exercise. That is what we need to deal with. I don't care when someone was admitted or what. Is this a useful exercise or it is a futile exercise? Let's establish that as a matter of fact, not as a matter of opinion. It looks like the right thing to do.
Chair,
but is it going to yield the results that we need?
Chair, we just issued
order through the chair. Wait, before it comes on board. I have read the letter that you wrote from County Attorney Honorable Sande Mukuna for the information. In the last paragraph, which was written 50 June 2025, so mark the date, say we intend to file the suit in accordance with the instructions within 21 days from the date of this letter, unless the amount is faithfully by a banker's check in favor of the county government of Vihiga. I thought I heard the county attorney say he never had intention of filing the suit. So is this his own letter, or we are reading other letters? It was written by him. And there's the Limitations of Actions Act. So where is he standing?
So, because Governor, you might be pursuing this through the wrong rabbit hole. You might think that you can go to court and enforce recovery when the PFM Act and regulations would suggest a surcharge on the officers responsible. You know, there are very clear provisions in the PFM Act and regulations, such that if you are not able to recover this money through other means, you go back to the officer who occasioned the loss of the public funds. So the question is, this route that you are taking going to bear fruit, Governor?
Based on what I've learned and gathered from this meeting, we may not be able to gain anything with this route. That's what I've heard, and I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard two lawyers talk, and I want to say that we have to look for another route, because this may be a futile route based on what I've heard.
Maybe to give the county attorney just a little bit of benefit, when he was admitted, some of us were still in school. What is your advice to the governor on this particular matter?
Chair, when you look at our response, we have already made a conclusion that we are not going to pursue further. These are some of the days that we may seek the proper procedure of writing them off. But Chair, even when somebody owes you, and you know very well that maybe you are limited by statute in terms of time, writing a demand notice may yield the fruit. If the person acknowledges, yes, I owe the money, you know very well time will stop running, and you'll have the right to recover the money. So when I acted in accordance with the instructions, I expected a response from the person. But the people responded and said that, okay, we want evidence that we owe the money. So this is the evidence I went back to the relevant department to find out, and that is when I was told the relevant documents were burned in a building, and they have not been recovered. So the next move...
they've put you on a wild goose chase?
I think so.
And who is that? Is that finance? Who's putting this advocate on a wild goose chase, knowing very well that there's nothing to catch?
And Chair, I don't know who wrote this response, because me, I'm looking through the appendices. When you say that demand letters were also done to the office of the county attorney, to Mr. Sande Mukuna, and Ms. Florence Kaguli, who also wrote back requesting for copies of the salary advance forms. I'm not seeing those appendices. I'm not seeing those letters that are responding to you. Are they there?
I think it's what I'd asked for initially when someone alluded to it, but it does not. They don't seem to be here.
Yes, Chair, let me admit that I also cannot trace them, but they were there. I think it was just an omission that they were not annexed. But we undertake.
Governor, this is let's contextualize it. This is the equivalent of an ECD classroom, even before you put in the interest. And this is a matter that's been running for almost 10 years. So if you are to put in interest, you are talking of 2 or 3 ECD classrooms. So we are not going to let this lie just like that. I don't know, OAG, the PFM regulations, what does it say about an accounting officer who advances money and fails to enforce recovery?
Chairman, it says that money will be recovered from the accounting officer for failing to effect the recovery of the money.
So, what other option do we have? Or we send that gentleman to chase wild goose? I think the answer lies in the regulations.
Maybe, Chair, could we also take the option of write-off? What does the law say about that? Because these individuals, I know them very well, and I don't think the county would be able to recover this money from them. So the other option is write-off. What does the law provide, and what attempt have they made to take that route?
We would be very hesitant to recommend write-off at the first instance, because these individuals are saying, give evidence that we took the money. But there's evidence that money left the county. So it's a person who caused the money to leave the county who should now be held responsible.
I think we have a public duty to make recommendations that serve as a deterrence. And that deterrence should not just be for the county of Vihiga, but to other counties generally. So the best option, Chair, is to direct that the governor should surcharge and recover that money from the officers who advance the money.
I don't think we have any other, of course, write-offs are allowable through certain processes, but not in a case where you can clearly see there is impunity.
Chair, my only predicament will be all those people who are responsible left. When the first government left, they also left.
No, Governor. It's not that way.
Yeah.
Isn't there an accounting officer now?
Yeah, the current one.
Yes.
Yeah. But
it is
those
that
who are
accounting officer who must take all measures. When they take the job, they know that they're taking the job with all the risks and booby traps that come with it. So I think in terms of recommendations, that's the direction we are going, because all these other charades, I think this matter has come up several times in the past, just like the next matter that we are going into. And I want us to go into this matter of the assembly. Recoverability of amount due from the county assembly. Again, auditor, what's the substance?
Note that into the financial statement also reflects a balance of Kenya shillings 10,865,170 in respect of receivables from non-exchange transactions. Included in the balance was Kenya shillings 9 million in respect of transfers